Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News, South Florida Conservative News Service. It is Monday, January 5th, 8:13 a.m., and we're just going to answer a quick question. As people have been watching the news this morning, has seen the helicopter carrying supposedly ex-president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, into New York for his arraignment. He has to be arraigned this morning on a multitude of criminal charges. He and his wife. She is also being up on a multitude of charges, including drugs, I think conspiracies in there, automatic weapons, which is hysterical. He had an army, so I guess he may as well. And the thing that everybody needs to know is why is it being done in New York? Because if you think in the optics politically, the last thing you want to do is bring a socialist to a trial in New York, especially one that has been brought there by Donald Trump. And that's a fair question. Why wasn't it done in Miami? But the real reason is very simple. Nicolas Maduro was already indicted in the Southern District of New York, and that is the big matter. That's what matters. Under U.S. criminal procedure, regardless of what your friends at the fucking bar have been telling you, you arraign a defendant where the indictment is pending. You do not move a defendant to a friendlier venue without reopening venue challenges. Any deviation creates appealable procedural risk. Those of you bartenders, or I'm sorry, lawyers that would like to argue with us on that, please do. Uh, Southern District of New York is not just a district, it is the lead district for international narcotics conspiracies, transnational financial crime, and narco-terrorism cases involving global networks. This case was built there for years. Okay. If you remember Giuliani in his old days of a prosecutor with the various RICO and drug cases he got up to. So, Southern District of New York is institutionally hostile, but procedurally lethal. Politically, the Southern District of New York is culturally and ideologically hostile to Trump. True. But that's exactly why it works legally. From the Department of Justice perspective, a conviction in the Southern District of New York is appeal resistant because nobody can claim that they did Trump a favor up there. Claims of Trump's court, kangaroo justice, political vendetta are much harder to sustain. International observers and extradition partners alike can take that ruling more seriously. So, in other words, if you look at it in the strange world of politics, hostility to Trump inoculates the prosecution against claiming for bias. That is not a bug, it is a feature. So, once again, why wasn't it done down in Miami? Um, Even though it feels like it should be done there, close proximity. Once again, as we said, he's already had his paperwork done in New York City. It is the epicenter of Venezuelan exiles. It's culturally aligned against Maduro, where New York City is culturally aligned with him. Expect the usual paid rioters and shit like that up in New York. And you'll get to see socialism at its best during this um, prosecution, if and when it gets around to being done. I think you're going to see, more importantly, as we've been hypothesizing, that you are going to get a Nicolas Maduro who is ready to give up what we want to hear, which is the involvement of the governments of China, Iran, Russia, and Cuba in the wholesale criminal enterprises of oil smuggling and narcotics moving and this and that and the other thing. So I tried to explain to a guy this morning who wants to go on about this bullshit war for oil stuff. You have the guy who can put the finger on everybody right now. If we had wanted him dead, he could have been dead a long time ago. And you got him and his wife. Look at our other video that we did. The proximity chance of getting that done, and that you already knew you were going to take him at the house and you had a layout of the house theoretically. These are things that are not a consequence, not what would be the term? Not accidental. If you don't see it and it's not, well, if it's not right, we won't know because he's not going to say that now, even though you saw the government of China wanted him released to him, right? And you're going to have the same issue go on with the Cubans because those Cuban intelligence officers that are all awash in Venezuela now have no way out of the country. And the country of Cuba will probably be the next domino to fall on its own once it sees that there is going to be support in some way from outside. All the other governments of the United States since Kennedy have neglected Cuba as an embarrassment. If there was they said it was a businessman's agreement about ballistic missiles, whatever. We don't know what's going on anymore. There are Chinese listening posts, I think 5 of them in Cuba. So it's about time that we start what he calls the Donroe Doctrine. I don't know where he gets this shit, but it's going down. The people of Cuba, if you're ready to rise up, now's the time. Just remember, that doesn't mean you get to come to the United States. You're going to have to sit there and rebuild your country, probably with financial and technical aid from the United States, the same way Venezuela will. So that's all I have for you at the moment. There's some other things coming up, and we're not going to keep doing this. And I'm not second guessing a bunch of people. That's the story on the indictment. So have a good day, and I will talk to you later on. Goodbye.